Welcome to The Daily Dish with New York Times bestselling author Leanne Ely. Putting vibrancy back into your everyday life and feeding your heart, mind, body, and soul. Join us every day at 1 p.m. Eastern for Motivational Monday, Tuesday's Tip, Wise Woman's Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Food Fight Friday, and of course Q&A, where no question is off limits, and Soulful Saturday. Here is your host, Leanne Ely, and The Daily Dish.
Here come all those wise women, and I see Doris and Noreen already in the house. Hello, Catherine, Francesca. Denise is here. So's Flynn, Joanne, Deborah. Hello. It's good to see you. I always miss you all over the weekend. Martha's here too. Good to see you all. Look at everybody. Juanita, Martha. Are you happy about today? I am always delighted with Mondays because Mondays are always a fresh start. Hi, Michelle and Kathy and Jama. Juanita, if I already said hello. Lucy and Susan. Look at this. I'm going to tell you what. The new quote of the week lights me like a fire. Like a fire. You're going to love this. Throw me some fireballs when you see this one because I know it's going to just rock your world. Diane is in the house too. There's my girl Nancy and Margot. I'm so glad you're here. Amber's here too. Look. Check it out. There is no force equal to a woman determined to rise. I know this is you. This is a call. Anybody feel that in their hearts? There go the fireballs. Here they come. Just dropping those truth bombs, right? Hi, Angie. It's just to me, it's just fabulous. We have Catherine double two Catherines. That is a truth as you know what, when you have determination in you, nothing stops you. And today we're going to be talking about, see, Sharon loved it. She lit up on that one. Lots of them. I'm going to tell you why. And today's subject is going to take you to that place of maybe you've never thought of this stuff that we're going to talk about today and I can't wait to dig in because it's juicy. These are tidbits that you can take to the bank, sisters. Totally. Our Joanne is here too, by the way. So I'm really excited about that. Couple of things. First of all, the supplement of the week changes. We've got the immunity high five right now, which I highly, guess what? Guess what's going on right now? Yeah, we are still COVIDing, if you will. And it's also flu season. And it's also sniffles and all this other kind of stuff. The cooties are out in force. So I love when we can take care of our immune system the way that we're supposed to take care of it. And that means that we are revved up. We've got the vitamin C going on, but with the quercetin, we've got the selenium going on. We've got all the things going on. And our immunity high five all works together synergistically to help you on that. So you buy 2 sets, you're going to get the third one free. Find it at savingdinner.com/show. That is an enormous savings. You're also going to find when you go to that page, Jenny's going to link it up. I don't know if she has it linked up just yet. I mean, let me just tell you something. Jenny works fast, but we just talked about this. We have a webinar that we did for that. It's all done. I swear this woman, boom, boom. She works so fast. Just don't get in her way. Just don't get in her way. She will mow you over. You are grass and you're standing in her way. That's Jenny. But here's the thing that you need to know about, and this is really crucial. When you understand how your innate immune system works and how you can help prop it up, that's when the magic happens. That's when we see ourselves much, much stronger than we have before. So she's got the webinar that I did on this. This is a while back, all hooked up and linked up on the savingdinner.com/show page. So you're going to be able to get, obviously, all the support that you need for that, and you'll be able to get the great deal, and you'll be able to get yourself a little bit of an education too. I think it's just really important that we do all of them. Carb Cutter, I told you this was going to be gone, but we have like so few bottles left. We've already reordered. But if you want it before Thanksgiving, well, what can I say? Go get it. savingdinner.com/carb cutter. And this is, I've been waiting for this for 6 months, really. I've been experimenting with it personally for 3 months, and I am a firm believer. I cannot even believe what all the information, the Japanese study on this is just absolutely mind-blowing. And they did it on women for a change. They did it on women, and they found that it made a difference. Those of us who are carb sensitive, you will understand what I mean. And this is what I call grace in a bottle. It is really something, and it is you're going to be blown away by it. So, you know what? Let's just say the holidays happen. That doesn't mean that you have to allow the holidays to run you down, right? Don't go off the rails. But if you want to have a little something that's not your usual thing, this is your safety net. It's Grace in a Bottle, Carb Cutter. Okay, we got a few bottles left. It'll be gone before you know it, though. And we're hoping to have it here back in stock by Thanksgiving. There's that. Speaking of which, we have our Thanksgiving menus. Come on. All of them. We do them for every single style. We have the paleo version. I think we even have a keto version. I don't know. We would probably have a stand on your head version if there is such a thing. Thanksgiving is what we're known for here at Saving Dinner. And we started the whole thing with the menus, the shopping list, the timelines, and all of that. And I'm going to take credit for that because I did it. We did that almost 20 years ago. And there's a lot of people who've done it since then, but I think we do it the best. If you go there, you're going to find everything that you need for your Thanksgiving meal. It's going to have the shopping list. It's going to have the timeline of how to do everything. It's going to have the troubleshooting guide so that you don't find yourself in a pickle. It's one thing to eat a pickle. It's another thing to be a pickle or in one. That's no good. Yeah, it is. The keto menu is really fabulous. How do you like that? Everything you need. savingdinner.com/Thanksgiving. Yes, you may share it with as many people as you want, and we welcome so many people in. They've come in via our Thanksgiving menus every year. Did you know we also are mindful mugs, which we really love? Here's 2 of the ones that we have. We have a whole bunch of them. You know how we say, oh, we got this one, then we run out. We got this one, then we run out. Well, let's just say when the distribution center got tidied up, we found that we had 4 different mugs. So if you want to have some new mindful mugs, go to savingdinner.com/mugs, and you can go and pick the one you want. We had someone this weekend buy all 4 because they were like, oh, I don't have that. But you get to choose your own as long as supplies last, of course. We're not going to be ordering new ones. So check that out. The Carousel of Crazy, of course, is the new book. And boy, oh boy, we've sold a bunch of these. We're getting low on these too. Check it out. And it comes with the workbook, which we think is really imperative to getting this work done, because that's what this is. Opting out of the diet culture and making a decision for your health instead of, those elusive size, whatever jeans that you want. Take Back Your Life journal. We're still doing it, girls. You want to get in on it? Go watch the webinar, savingdinner.com/holiday. You'll also get the holiday cheers menu when you order the journal. It's that great. And if you just want the holiday cheers menu, this is our plan so you don't go off the rails. Well, that's available at savingdinner.com/cheer. We have that as well. And that's pretty much everything that we have. And of course, always question and answer. I mean, right? Don't you always want your questions answered? I sure hope so. Send them in to support at savingdinner.com. Question for Leanne on Friday goes right there in the subject line. I'll get right on it. I'll answer it on Friday. And then there's also all the other things. How many things can I tell you about, though, possibly? Is your head ready to explode? Well, I'm going to blow you up right now. I'm going to blow you away with some of the stuff that we're talking about today. Because I found this Carl Rogers, and, he was one of the fathers of psychology, if you will, or cognitive therapy, I think he's the father of cognitive therapy. But listen, if you've done any therapy, then you know about therapy. Therapy's a fabulous thing. It's a great tool, and it really does help you to learn a little bit about who you are, what you're about, and gee, maybe there's an opportunity for growth here, right? That's how I look at it. When, when your life comes and hits you up in the face, there's an opportunity to learn. He had this to say: the curious paradox is when I accept myself exactly as I am, then I'm able to change. Which, come on, absolutely, 100%. And I shared with you, of course, my Lane Bryant story about that is when I changed finally, was when I finally accepted myself, because I was not doing that beforehand. You start with denial. I mean, it's like the several stages of grief. You understand that, right? You know, how you start with denial, and then you finally get to the place, you mourn, you do whatever it is that you're doing, and then you finally get to the place of acceptance. Well, if we look at those stages of grief, that's really how it is when we finally come to a decision and understand with full-hearted acceptance that until you accept yourself, you're never going to have the impetus to change, because you're always looking at yourself and putting yourself down. That's where all the energy is going. All the energy is going toward that negative stuff, and I will tell you, nobody's probably been worse on themselves than I have when it comes to the horrible things that I've said about myself in front of the mirror, in front of my daughter, which is really horrible, because, what do daughters do? They pick that up, and that's the way it's supposed to be, right? We do these things, and I got it from my mother. We hand down this garbage of hating ourselves. But the paradoxical theory of change means that you're going to love this right here. It means that when women are fully allow themselves to be fully awarely in touch with who they currently are, that change and growth emerge. Change and growth emerge. You think about it too, and not to the tired, maybe it's a kind of a tired metaphor, maybe, but it's a good one. And, think about the caterpillar. Does the caterpillar sit there and wring its little tiny hands? Do they have little hands, or they're little creepy crawly things? Do they sit there and just wonder like, oh, I just want to be a butterfly. I just want to be this butterfly. Or do they just suck it up and do what caterpillars do, eat a bunch of stuff, then put themselves into a chrysalis and become? That's what they do. They don't worry about the change and the growth. They understand that it's going to absolutely 100% come out of it. This is cool stuff, y'all. It's really cool stuff if you start to think about it and meditate on the fact that this radical acceptance that we have with ourselves can be the absolute impetus for change that we've been looking for all along. Can you imagine? Can you imagine all of this stuff, all of these put downs, all of this energy that we spend on the self-flagellation of how awful this is and how awful we are and why can't we do this and all this other garbage? If we just stop it and just say, you know what, I accept myself right now. I accept myself in these, feeling like a stuffed sausage in these jeans. I accept myself in whatever it is, whatever it is. And I remember when I walked over that threshold into the Lane Bryant store, just because of all these things, what that signified to me, right? I had my own notion, my own understanding of what that was about. And when I saw, especially the underwear, all the matchy cute stuff, and then I saw all the pretty cute clothes that they had, I was like, it was like a wonderland. I was like, I honestly wanted a grocery store shopping basket so I could just put, I've never tried on so many clothes in all of my life or spent that kind of money in all of my life. I don't think ever. It was a lot of money, and I couldn't get my credit card out fast enough. I was delighted in the fact that I finally had something that was appropriate for me. And in that moment of acceptance, I was absolutely giddy with joy. Giddy. I mean, that's just incredible. But what I love about this whole idea, this paradox of theory change, is that it's inevitable and it's natural that we change once we accept. And it seems like it's counterintuitive, doesn't it? It sure is. But this was a therapy that was developed in the 40s and 50s by Fritz and Laura Pearl. Just FYI, those of you who are, looking into these things. But their finding was that their patients experienced, when they understood this concept, the immediacy of acceptance and personal responsibility too for what was next. And that's exactly the place that we need to be in if we're making a decision that we want to make a couple of changes. It doesn't happen unless we first have acceptance in place. You think about it. When you go to work out, you don't just, you have to put clothes on first to go do it, right? You don't work out naked. At least I don't do it. There are things that we have to do first before we can actually do the thing. And that's what acceptance is. Acceptance is carte blanche into the life that you want to live. So I find that it's a confluence. I love the word confluence. And in psychology, confluence means that it's a fusion of a few different things. It's not just like, well, you know what a confluence is in geography, is a lake or is a river and ocean coming together. That's a confluence. It's a cool thing when you think about all of this. But this this fusion of several things that come together in psychology it leads to self-awareness, self-knowledge, and true motives. True motives. Our motives come out of this self-awareness. These motives come out of this self-knowledge that we have. And I believe it's the moment of true transparency where we really see ourselves as we are, warts and all. We give lip service to that all the time. We do, don't we? We give lip service to that. But you know what? We don't necessarily get into the weeds of truly accepting it because there's a paradox there. When we want change, what do you mean accept? That means that we're going to accept where we are. Well, yes, accepting where we are is step one to number two, going to the place of change. The dictionary says that paradox is a seemingly absurd, I love that, or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or experienced may prove to be well-founded or true. Ain't that the truth? Have you noticed that to be true? Have you experienced this in your own life? Pinkies up if you've experienced that, because I believe that this is a reality. This is truth based on reality, and it isn't necessarily either bound by logic. Logic's limited. There's only so much we can do with logic, and then it starts to go over those definition lines, doesn't it? I mean, there you go. Yes. Sarah said the moment where acting as if changes to this is me. Because acting as if is an acknowledgement that I'm not exactly there right now, but I do have options. But I do have other things to think of. It's not about being there. It's about feeling it. It's not about faking it till you make it, like we talked about all last week. It's about seeing it until you're being it, right? You have a vision. You have an idea of what you want. It is a vibrant vision for what you want in your life. And then when we can accept all this goofy stuff where it's just like, boom, this is where the magic happens. The magic happens because the acceptance is there. That is radical acceptance, by the way. And radical acceptance, you know what? It's just, you're a complicated package, girlfriend. So am I. We all are. We got so many things going on at the same time. What if we finally radically accepted ourselves if nothing ever changed, if it was just right where we are right now? What a difference it could be. What a difference. So there are several paradoxes in life that I wanted to show you. It's not just this one thing, it's a lot. So I want to show you how, as I said, logic is limited And that's when the paradoxes start to show up, in my opinion. And I want to show you that there are several paradoxes in life, and maybe you've never really thought about them. But I love the black and whiteness of them. I like the contrast of these things because they help us to see what's true, and they help us to make these adjustments that we need to make. Okay, so here we go. Number one, the pursuit of happiness. You ever heard of that? You know, the pursuit of happiness. I mean, there was a book written about it, but happiness is so short term because it's based on happenstance, those things that happen. What in the world? Okay. The thing that I want you just to really take a good look at is the quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, "Happiness is not a goal, it is a byproduct," which is so true. And that is where we are with everything right now. That is where we are with everything. And I want to make a really clean line here. I have been I'm coaching a lot of women lately who are in an inner circle. We have a one-on-one time. And most of them, I'm saying, can we just make an agreement that we're going to stop looking at the scale? And even some of them, I'm saying, even the measuring tape. Because the pursuit of weight loss oftentimes needs to instead be the pursuit of health above all things. Because if we're going after health, if we're going after getting our blood tests in alignment and having your doctor go, "Wow, what have you been doing here? Look at your blood tests." I promise you the byproduct of pursuing health is going to be the weight loss. It's just going to happen. You are going to consequently make fabulous decisions that support these health goals. The weight loss is just a byproduct. This is how it is with happiness as well. If you pursue happiness, you're going to find yourself pretty upset and sad. But if you're pursuing joy, if you're pursuing contentment, if you're pursuing getting things done that's going to create the world that you want to live in, the vibrant vision that you have for yourself, the happiness comes. It's a byproduct. It can't help but show up. Think about that. Think about that. And and I think about that too when I go back to this number one of weight loss. When I think about all my gals who have lost a lot of weight, they're pursuing their health stronger than they're pursuing a pair of jeans. Jeans are fun, come on. Everybody likes a smaller pair of jeans. Everybody enjoys a good shopping trip or whatever. But you know what is beyond that little momentary bit of fun is having your doctor say to you, "What have you been doing? What have you been doing? Look at your tests, or let's take you off this medication. Or you're doing so well. If you keep this up, we're going to take you off this whatever." That's beyond. That's the big thing. That's the place when we're starting to check the boxes. And it's a paradox, isn't it? The pursuit of happiness shouldn't be the goal. It's a byproduct. And that is a paradox in and of itself. Number two, the only certainty is uncertainty. Nobody has a crystal ball. I mean, if they do, they might have crystal balls, but good luck with that. Except I will say my grandmother, Earthquake Edna, she read tea leaves. Yes, she did, from Belfast, Ireland, and had a lovely little Irish brogue. And you know what she used to do? She used to call us up. This is back in the 60s. And she'd get on the phone and she'd talk to my dad. And my dad's name was Peter. My brother's name is Peter. And my son's name is Peter. And she'd say, "Peter," in her little Irish brogue, "you're going to have an earthquake." And my dad would say, "Oh, earthquake, Edna, just give it a rest." And guess what? We'd have an earthquake. And every time the phone went, and my dad knew it was a big deal because back in the 60s, you were paying for long distance phone calls, especially from Canada to California. But she would call us, and sure enough, we would have an earthquake. But she had this uncanny ability to be able to do that with earthquakes. Don't ask me why, but she did. But I want to just make one thing very, very clear about this whole idea of uncertainty. That's what risk-taking is. And anytime we pursue something different, it does trigger a risk thing in our heads. And risk is something that makes us go, I don't know about that. Well, we know what happens in our brain. And when we decide to make take a risk anyway and decide that the uncertainty is worth it anyway, we get rewarded with a dopamine hit and our amygdala calms the heck down, right? We like that. So I say that making peace with uncertainty is making peace with yourself. And that's kind of a little bit of a paradox, isn't it? But can you imagine doing that, what that will do? Because we know that we can't guarantee always a safe, always, no risk involved. The insecurity of it all, it's there. Can we just pinky up on that and just go with it? What do you think? I will promise you there will be a dopamine hit waiting for you on the other side. Number 3 is, here's another paradox. Too many choices mean that there's no decision made. So that's why we don't give you a whole lot of choices here at Saving Dinner. We just want you to know these are the supplements that we believe in, and these are the reasons why. And this is the science behind it. You got a couple of different ways to buy them, and in order to save some money, we help you out with Supplement of the Week. We want to make sure that you're getting the best deal possible. We have a few programs, but we don't overwhelm you with too much stuff. Too much stuff is too much stuff. It becomes, what does too much stuff do? It becomes clutter. What does a website do that has too much stuff everywhere? It becomes cluttery. And we just built a brand new website and we're already decluttering it. We're already cleaning it up and making it, easy to a little easier to understand. Jenny's constantly doing things to tweak and to refine, So remember this. Number 3 is, Teresa, too many choices mean indecision. And that, it seems like, isn't that kind of a paradox though? Because it does seem like the more choices you have, the better it's going to fit you. And that is simply not the case. It will overwhelm you and it will put you frozen into analysis paralysis. You're not going to make a decision. Too many things, You don't need 15 different vitamin C's. You don't need all this stuff. You don't need a lot of stuff. We're going to keep it really simple. We're going to keep it really direct. I'm going to give you the short version of all the stuff that's out there, and I'm going to tell you where to go digging if you want more information. But from where I sit and what I know and how I understand how my brain works is give me the goods. It's like me and spreadsheets. Don't give me a spreadsheet. Give me a summary. That way, the way my brain works is I need to analyze what the heck everything is. And if I don't see it all together, I'm a big picture kind of gal. I can't see it. So all of those decisions, that's like a spreadsheet. That's just, things are just everywhere. If everything is important, then nothing is important. Oh, amen, Sarah. That's exactly right. And we're really, it's like getting Carb Cutter. Why did we get Carb Cutter? We got Carb Cutter because that was an important supplement. Out of everything that I studied, this one bubbled to the top. It bubbled to the top. After my 3-month trying it out on myself, it bubbled to the top. It worked. Otherwise, you wouldn't be knowing about this right now. Do you know how much stuff is out there? How much stuff I'm looking into? How much stuff do we introduce that's brand new? Not a lot. But I will keep telling you to go back to the core 4. I will keep telling you to go back to look at the immunity high 5. I will keep saying you got to have collagen. You got to have beauty support. I will tell you about the supplements that I know do the work. They do the work. They do the work and they do the heavy lifting, and the research supports all of that. So that's why we go with what that is, because I'm going to tell you right now, after 27 years of coaching, I get women who just, what they want? They say to me, just tell me what to do. I don't want to make all these decisions. I had one woman who lost a ton of weight, and she said, I just stay with the sprint because I don't want all those decisions. I was like, fine. As long as you're happy and you're not, going off the rails because you're bored, then stay with the sprint. It made her happy. It gave her a reprieve from fatigue, decision fatigue. And that's what happens when we have too many decisions, too many choices in front of us. It doesn't happen. Number 4, this is a good one. Failure leads to success. This is absolutely 100% the truth, but it seems we spend so much time trying to avoid failure because failure's scary. Failure stamps us on the head with a big reject sign, doesn't it? Failure means all kinds of things. It didn't work, I'm who, whatever. But I'm going to tell you what this is. This is an opportunity to create an experience for your experience file. Now, hear me on this. When we can pull out from a huge experience something that has happened to us, and we can say, this is what I've learned from it, then we've retrieved, we've diluted down, we have pulled the value from it. The rest of it does not have to have an impact on us if we choose not to have it have an impact on us. That doesn't mean that we're denying our feelings or any of this other kind of stuff, but it's just, this is when we get to be logical and analytical and say, what can I learn from this? What can I take from this to make it a little bit easier? So I know that our experience file will help us for future success. I've been in business for over 20 years now. It's going on 21 years. And I will tell you, in my experience, like, we will have discussions sometimes in our staff meetings, and I'll say, no, we can't do that. You know, somebody will have an idea, and I will say no right away, because from my experience of trying something like this before, it didn't work. I know it doesn't work because X, Y, and Z. You know, and I can't expect my staff to know all of this because they haven't been doing this with me for 20 years, right? But that's what it is. We've all been taught to avoid failure and have the illusions of success all the time. But that's part of faking it till you make it, isn't it? Just pretending everything is okay. But I want you to see how powerful it is to instead accept and even embrace that failure, because it's a teaching ground. It's a teaching ground, and it will take and elevate us to the next level, and it will create success for the future as well. What about that? A little different, right? Number 5, I love this one. The more you know, and I have noticed this so much, the less you know. Have you seen that? Or the little you find out that there's so many more people out there that are so much more learned than you, and they know so much more, and that you think you know something, and then all of a sudden you get schooled. Have you noticed that? There's always going to be somebody who knows a little bit more than you. And how cool is that to say, I accept that, not get all upset about it. But I believe that this is a paradox that leads to humility. It leads to wisdom, and it also leads to empathy and loving one another and bringing other people in. What about that? That's how I look at this, because, you know, I'll tell you what, I have several people in my life that I subscribe to their newsletters or their teachings or whatever, because they know more than I do. You know, I want somebody to teach me who knows more. That's all there is. That's it. Boom, we're done. Why not? Because this is how we get better and become better, by saying there is somebody who knows more than me. That's why we read books. That's why we listen to lectures and TED Talks and all the rest of it. You can always learn more. And shutting it down and saying, oh, you know, I don't want to be influenced by them. Well, that's shameful. Of course you do. We all want to be influenced. That's how we become better. Number 6, I love this one. The more scared you are of doing something, the more you should do it. Now, I'm not talking about, you know, jumping out of airplanes. You know, the only reason to jump out of an airplane, a perfectly good airplane, well, there is no reason to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. But if it's going down, that's when I want a parachute. And we're done. I don't need to do that kind of bungee jumping or anything scary like that. I don't need to do anything that's going to cause bodily injury. But I will tell you, back in 2015, and I was having kind of this, I was going, first of all, I lost a bunch of weight in 2015. And I was going through this whole kind of a metamorphosis of what's important to me? Do I even want to do this anymore with saving dinner? What do I want to be when I grow up? I was going through all the things. And one of the things that I noticed was I stayed shut down and stayed doing my own little thing and basically was on the Titanic. Things weren't going great. So I needed a minute to think about what was it that I needed to do in order that I could lead again, in order that I could, in order that I could just go have some success again. And it was weird. I made a decision that I was going to go to France by myself. Why would anybody do that? But I was scared to do anything alone. I was scared. I went through a breakup a couple of years prior to that. So, but I had, and I dated a bunch of icky guys all the way through. This is just prior to meeting Mark, by the way. And I had, it was just really hard for me to really kind of get my life together. And finally, I just said, I need to do something that scares me. I'd never even been to the movies by myself, ever. Don't ask me why, but I had just never gone to the movies by myself. And so I was thinking, okay, then that's going to be my challenge. I'm going to go to the movies by myself. And instead of that, I made a decision to go to France by myself because I had never been to France and I had so desperately wanted to go. So I went for almost 2.5 weeks all by myself. I cashed in my American Express points and off I went. And I'll tell you what, I learned something from that trip. I learned, one, I could do hard things. Two, that anytime I got fearful or scared of something, there was always going to be somebody I could ask a question to, and they would even speak English, by the way. And three, I found out that I was resourceful. Boy, was I resourceful, and I knew that somehow or another I was going to be able to get these things done. I was going to be able to have and do what it is that I needed to do if I would just risk. That was it right there. Taking a risk and doing something that was basically tapping me on the shoulder to do. That's a paradox. And number 7 is the more we speak up, the less people listen. Now, hear me. If you are just incessantly talking all the time and constantly interrupting and constantly interjecting yourself into a conversation and constantly everybody gets to the point where they don't even hear you anymore. I was with a bunch of women that I absolutely adore. And we had this one woman who she would interrupt you mid-sentence. You had to get it in fast, or she would interrupt you mid-sentence. And that's a bad habit. And it also says that I'm not listening and just want to hear myself talk. Sometimes we just need to cut it down, shut it down, and be a good listener. Because when good listening comes into play, then when you go to speak, other people will listen because they don't hear you as one of these people who just wants to hear themselves talk. You know what I'm talking about. So I've got another one for you that I bet you didn't even know about. And this is a paradox that I bet you're not using right now for your advantage. And it's funny because my friend Sean Croxton, who I've told you I love to death, and Sean has a show called The Quote of the Day Show. You can watch it, take it on Apple, iTunes, anywhere. But I love his show, and I love Sean. He's a really great human being. And I've known him for years. And he had this on his email today, which just absolutely floored me because I had just written my show. And he was talking about the paradox of how other people, your haters, will come at you. And he uses them as sticky notes whenever they do something and say, you can't do that. And he lines them up on his computer about all the things that he couldn't do, that somebody said they couldn't do. And you know what? That is fuel for his fire. And I love that because I do the very same thing. I think there's some people that have a natural propensity to be able to do this. And there are other people who need some help to say, okay, I'm going to do this instead. Because here's what happens. When the haters come and they start hatering, they start throwing the haterade at you, and they don't like you, or they don't whatever, or they're doubting that you can do it. Some people will either accept it and say, okay, you're right. And off they go with their little tail between their legs. Or they'll say, oh yeah, you want to bet? That's me. You want to bet? I don't put my tail between my legs. It lights me on fire. That haterade is my Kool-Aid, baby, because I'm not at all going to let anything stand in my way between where I am and where I decide to go. No haters, right? So I did this. I'm going to share some different scenarios with you that actually happened in my life. And I want you to take a look at this. Is it possible for you to take something that is hate-based or somebody doubting you or putting you down and change that into you want to bet? You want to get that motivated instead of letting it put you down, instead of allowing that to happen? The paradox is to take it and to light up the world on fire. Number one, I was in sales. I've told these stories before. I'm telling them again. I don't care. They're my stories and they're good ones. I was in sales. I was selling title insurance. My boss says nobody gets their first orders until they've been doing this for 2 or 3 months. And I said, I'm going to get an order my first month. He goes, no, you won't. And I said, watch me. I'm going to do it. No, you won't. And no, you can't make it happen. No, you can't. I got 2 orders my first month. And the whole time that I was doing it, I didn't have a Post-it note like Sean did. But I will tell you, the whole time that I was doing it, I could just see him saying, I could see his face. I can still see his face in my mind's eye. You won't. Like, come on. And just dismissive. Dudes. That was the 80s. That was, a heck of a long time ago. But that's what, women just dismissed. And all that did was just light a fire under my butt. And I got those orders. Boy, did I get those orders. Number 2 was, I remember when I was right in the midst of a real crisis going on, just, financially, my marriage, everything was just kind of a mess. I had just started Menu Mailer, just started it. And it was right about the time that I was starting to write for Marla. I was starting, a bunch of things were just starting. I had just been on QVC and sold my healthy foods book, and I got asked back a few times and all of that. And my pastor, I told him I had this thing and I had this idea and this is what I was doing. And he said, you'll never own your own business. Do what my wife did. Go to, I don't know, one of those, in a box kind of a CPA type of things. Go get a job, go get a job. It'll never work. Can I tell you? That lit a fire under me like nobody's business. Nobody was going to stand in the way. Nobody. They were grass. I was the lawnmower. Yeah. And then weight loss too. I had a doctor who said to me, my doctor said to me, you'll never lose weight with this, with having a thyroid issue. You'll never lose weight. You know what I did? I said, I'll figure it out. I went to her to help me, and this is a woman physician. I went to her for help, and she said, you will never. You tell somebody you will never, I hope to God you tell them, no, you will never talk to me like that. Don't allow the haters and the doubters and the naysayers and the planters of bad seeds into your life. Yes, that's right, Jennifer. Find a way. You Diana Nyad your way out of this thing. Because the paradox here is, if you choose, this can be the fire that you need in order to light an inferno. It can be. So creating the life I want was on the other side of these doubters. It was all on the other side of this. And their contempt, it just fueled the hot desire that I already had for these things that I want, to prove them wrong and to prove to myself that I could. How about that for a paradox? That's a life worth living. And I will tell you this, that paradoxes are the seeds for change because we can see the contrast of them. That's number one. But you know what the first thing before the whole thing, the preamble is? You've got to first accept yourself. And that's the paradox to the change you will be seeking. What do you think of that? All right. That is what I have to say today. I hope we went a little bit long. So my apologies for that, but I hope you found it worthwhile. And if you did, you know what to do. Share the heck out of this thing. I'll see you tomorrow, Tuesday, for Tuesday's transformational tip. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. You can find us on YouTube on the Saving Dinner channel or on the Saving Dinner Facebook page. Check back daily for new episodes, Monday to Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you missed the live show, you can watch the replay. Until next time, pinkies up.